Hi, shalom, friends. You know, we all make benchmarks. So if I were to ask you, do you have any ideas of how to define success? Well, for some people, it's a lot of money and a large bank account. For others, it's their accomplishments. They opened up a business. Others, they designed a high-story building. I made a bridge. For others, I have a large family. For others, I have a beautiful wife. We've been married for 70 years. All of it is good. All of it is true. All of it is right. Let's take the opposite. What happens if I told you, here's an individual that A, he was evicted from his house. B, he has nothing in the bank. In fact, he doesn't even have a bank account. C, he tried to start a family. One of them turned out to be a murderer. And the other one, he only had 2 kids, and the other one basically left the house. In terms of marriage, we don't know much about it, but we know that there was for a long time a separation. What would you think about such a person? Would you call him a success? Probably not. Now, I do not mean to be irreverent or sarcastic, God forbid. I mean, the following thought I want to share with you is for the purpose of the takeaway. Look at the first person whom God created. He was a perfect person. He had none of the baggage that all of us carry. Most of our medical issues have to do with basically the genetic makeup that we received. Even the drive for success or the opposite can greatly be traced to background. The Almighty God Himself created the most handsome, talented, beautiful person in the universe, to the extent that even animal life and everything around him acknowledged his superiority. So here's the man who has everything. And the Torah is remarkable in the way it describes his life. Not even a day passed, and he was evicted from his home. Right? We all know the story of the Garden of Eden. He was told to leave, and he was not permitted to go back. Then we read about 2 of his children, Cain and Hevel, or in English, Cain and Abel, and Cain kills Hevel. I mean, it's a disaster. 2 children, one kills a brother, and then what happens to the murderer? He doesn't stay home and spend his life, worshiping. Not worshiping is not a good word. Serving his parents. He becomes a wanderer. And Adam certainly did not have a bank account. There were no banks, and instead he's told that he'll have to work very, very hard. And what will he produce? Thistles and thorns. So tell me, do we have anything that we could point to and say, oh, this is Adam's work? You see this pyramid? He never created an engine of progress, so to speak. There are no bridges. There are no buildings. There's not even a civilization that could trace it directly back to Adam. We say, well, come on, Rabbi, you're missing the main point. He's the father of mankind. What happened to all of his children? Well, if you follow the biblical narrative, they get wiped out. I mean, I cannot think of a less successful human being on earth. Everyone leaves over something. And we say, here is the point. He did his job. He populated the world. He taught people and transmitted monotheism to his children. And yet, not all of his children followed that. So his 3rd child is called Seth or Shase. And then we have his son, in other words, the grandson, his first grandson, his name is Enosh. And as the Chumash says, people began to call the name of God, which is interpreted that they began to call the name of God over false gods. In other words, what happened was that the belief of God, which is intrinsic and implicit, suddenly became interpreted as, yes, there is a God, but there are also smaller gods with a small g. We have no idea, was Adam satisfied with his life? We have no idea. One could suggest that, of course, on a metaphysical way, he was always with God. Whatever happened was godly, so he was supremely happy. But if we physical beings were to imagine this holy creature as a human being that me and you can relate to, we would say he must have been profoundly unhappy. All of his accomplishments seem to have fizzled out. And this is the lesson I want to tell you. He does have a descendant. His name is Noach. Noach is the 10th generation from Adam. But you know something? Adam never saw Noach grow up. Relatively speaking, Noach was a baby when Adam passed away. And yet, from this seedling, from this child, there's going to be salvation for all of humanity. So, what I'm trying to convey to you is, amongst the numerous lessons that we read and we can glean from even a cursory reading of Genesis, perhaps this is one which you should pay attention to. You do your job, and maybe 900 years later, something not only good will happen, but something momentous, monumental, something of supreme value, something that can literally change the world, create a world, and an improved one as well. In our own life, we often expect to see results, some earlier, some later. And there are times when a person might look back at decades of living and wonder, for what purpose? Who's going to remember me? What did I do? I don't see anything. But you should be reassured. You accomplished. And if you will not see it in your lifetime, the good deeds that you've done and that you planted will be seen in the future. So the takeaway, continue to do good. And may we be privileged to see the results of the good. But God forbid, if we're not privileged to see it, you can rest assured, and I mean that in every possible way, you can rest assured that your legacy will remain, and not only will remain, but will one day be revealed as absolute goodness and of great significance.